So I'm going to start off just by warming up the wrists, because we're going to do a bit of loading the wrists on the floor. So yeah, best to just make sure your wrists are a little bit mobile before we start. So just going for flexion and extension. Have any of you done vaginal flow before? Let me know in the comments, even if it's sort of afterwards at the end. And then we're just going to go hands on the ground. And then just gently, just to where it's comfortable, rocking forwards, sort of over the hands, just to give a bit of a stretch into the forearms. Just do a few repetitions of that. And then we'll go moving the hands out to the side and just moving side to side. And then we'll go fingers pointing towards you. And then just gently, you'll feel this one, gently shifting back to where you feel a bit of a stretch, but don't force it. And then just shake the wrists out. Just going to get this loaded. Alright. So we're just going to start with one of the moves we did before, which is the wave, but we're going to do it with our knees off the ground. So it's basically, just make sure I get in the frame for this, it might be tricky for some of the moves. You're going to have your knees off the ground, and then you're going to sit back into your hips, and then you're going to straighten the legs out to where you can, bring the hips up, shift your weight forwards while you arch your back up, and bring your hips down. And then you're going to push the ground away, and if it's comfortable, looking up. So it's just a slightly more advanced version of the one we did. Tuck the chin in, push the ground away through your hands, shoulder blades apart, and you're arching up through the back as you shift your weight back. So we'll just do that a couple of times so you get used to it. Only looking up if it's comfortable. Tuck your chin in, push the ground away, arch your back up, lift the hips up, shift your weight back into the hips, and then you're going to straighten the legs out, shift your weight forwards, arching up, hips down, going into extension. Looking up if it's comfortable, and we're going to shift back. Alright. Then we're going to do what's called a scorpion reach. So it's basically starting in like a plank position. You're going to bring opposite knee towards elbow, and then you're going to kick this leg back, almost like an arc, back and around, keeping the knee bent. And you also want to keep the bent, the knee that's on the ground bent as well. And you should feel a nice stretch in the hip flexor, front of the hip. Then we'll change sides. So kicking the leg back, knee bent. It's almost like a downward dog position with the upper body. Just on the ball of your foot that's on the ground. And coming back. So we'll just do one more on each side. Really open up the hip to where it's comfortable. Or you start to feel a stretch, bringing it back. And then just finish off that move and shake the wrists out. So, if you got that, we're going to just add a little bit to the end where you basically do a full movement, and you're actually going to bring that foot to touch the ground behind you. So I'll show you what I mean. Starting in this position again, you're going to kick the foot back, get into that position where we're in, and then you're going to try and keep your weight on the hand on the side you're moving to. You're going to load the outside of your foot. So you're going to use this as like the accelerator and brake, and you're going to put the weight on the outside of your foot, bring that hand up to land on this leg. So this one's a little bit more challenging. And then we're just going to go back to the start and try it again. So I'll show you again. Knee to elbow, kick back, reach around, really control the movement with the foot that's on the ground. So try and get your weight onto the outside of your foot and then onto the heel. And this leg just comes down bent and you land up in this position. So we'll go for 2 one side and then 2 the other side. I'll try and talk you through it and do it with you. So I'm going to just go on the other side. So you're going to go knee to elbow, not that side, this side. Kick back, head between shoulders, really using the outside of your foot as the brake. So you're moving towards your heel on the foot that's down, and the other leg stays bent and lands up behind you. So I'll do another wrap. Knee to elbow, kick back, opening up the hip, use your foot as the brake. Coming over, finishing up there. So make sure you do 2 on each side. And then we'll just shake the wrists out again for a sec after doing those. Hope you guys are managing to see me alright and follow along. Alright. And then I just want to show you one more move. I did cover this one in the previous flow I did last week. So for those of you who were here, you might remember it. So this one's called a crab reach. You want to start knees bent with your fingers pointing backwards. So your hand's going to be facing behind you. And then you're basically going to prop yourself off the ground. So really think about pulling your shoulder blades down, push your hands into the ground, bring one hand off the ground to in front of your face. And this is the tricky part, so you want to think about reaching back with your hand, bringing your hips up towards the ceiling, looking down to this hand that's on the ground, and this arm just sort of like stays bent on the side of your face. You just want to squeeze the glutes just to where you can. You know, yours might sort of get to there and look like that, and that's okay. Depends what your flexibility is like. But yeah, the goal is to just really use the ground to push away from, make sure that you're not staying sunken into the shoulder. You really want to open the shoulder joint to create stability there and make sure that you're not kind of just sinking into your joint. So you want to lengthen as much as you can there and lengthen through the front of the hips. So we'll do 2 on each side. If it's too tricky for you, you can just prop yourself off the ground. Really focus on pulling your shoulder blades down, opening your chest and holding this position. So that's good as well if you're finding this too tricky. I'll do 2 on the other side. So push into the ground, hand in front of face, push your hips up, keep your shoulder open, and just rest the bent arm on the side of the face and come back to the start. And I'll do another one. So you should feel like you're getting a little bit of rotation through the abs and good activation of the shoulder and lots of opening with the hip flexors. So, is everyone following so far? Because now we're going to make it a little bit trickier and try and flow them together. So hopefully you guys are good. So we're going to do the first one, the wave, into the scorpion, into the crab reach. So I'll show you what it's going to look like. Hopefully I don't get out of frame too much. Alright, so I'm going to sit back into the hips, straighten the legs up, bringing the hips towards the ground, pushing the ground away, reversing the movement. Then you're going to come into knee to elbow, kicking back, land up there. I like to put my hand down that was up, bring the leg and then switch hands to do the crab reach. And you're going to finish there. So we're just going to link the 3 together, and then it doesn't really matter how you get back to the start position again. So the idea is we're going to try and do that 3 times on each side. Now you don't have to do it all at once. If you feel like your wrists are not liking it after a couple, just stop and shake them out and go again when you feel ready, or just do whatever you feel comfortable doing basically. But I'll try and keep going and keep talking through it. So I'll do the waveform, so back into the hips, legs nice and straight, arching up, hips to the ground, looking up to the ceiling, and then you're going to tuck your chin, push away from the ground, bring your back up, sitting back into the hips, knee to elbow, and then kick back, use your foot as a brake to control that movement. Bring this hand that was up down, and the knee bend to match the other one. The other hand comes to in front of the face, and then you're going to push up, hips up to the ceiling, make sure you lengthen through the shoulder, and then you're going to come back down. And then we'll just go back to the start, doesn't matter how you do that. So I might do the other side now. So we'll start with the wave, sitting into the hips, straighten the legs, shift your weight forwards, hips to the ground, and extend the neck if it's comfortable. You're going to tuck the chin in, really try and roll your spine up to the ceiling, sit back into the hips. And you're going to bring knee to elbow, kick that leg back, keeping it bent, so use your foot on the ground as a brake to land up there, foot down to match the other leg, hand to the ground, and the other hand in front of your face, and then bringing the hips up. And the other arm just stays bent on the side of your head, and then return to the start. So I'm going to do one more, going that way. Sit into the hips, straighten the legs, hips to the ground, looking up. And opposite knee to elbow, kicking that leg back, use your foot as a brake, and then bring the leg to match the other one with the knee bend, hand to the ground, other hand in front of the face, hips coming up. How's everyone following along so far? Let me do a check-in. Make sure everyone's good. It's very hard to gauge how people are going when you can't see them. Hey Adam, hey Jules. Cool, nice to see some familiar faces. If you're having any issues, let me know. That's a brilliant comment. I'm as flexible as a paling fence. That's great. Well, hopefully this will help. Flexibility by osmosis. All right. I'll keep going. Do you guys want to do another round of that, or do you want to do one more sort of more chilled movement? I was going to finish on just a nice, easy squat type move. Maybe we'll do one more. We'll do one more round of that, on just one on each side, and then we'll finish on a breach. So we'll just run through one each side without stopping. So sitting back into the hips, bringing the legs straight, hips come towards the ground. Really push the ground away to activate the shoulders. Looking up to the ceiling. Tuck your chin in, push away, get the back up, back into the hips. Then we're going to go opposite knee to elbow. Kick that leg around in an arc, use your foot as a brake. Bring the other leg to match. One hand to the ground, and then bridging up. Really trying to open the hips. Coming back to the start. Then we'll do one more full round on the other side. Sitting into the hips, straighten the legs, shift your weight forwards, hips to the ground, push the ground away, extend back if it's comfortable, tuck your chin in, separate your shoulder blades, really push the ground away again. And then opposite knee to elbow with the leg that you didn't do last time. Arcing around, use your foot as a brake. And then hand to the ground, foot to match. The other hand comes up to in front of the face. And bridging up, really opening through the shoulder. Letting the arm hang on the side of the head and come back. Alright, and then to finish on a nice, easy, chilled one move. So as I just called an ape reach, it's just basically getting into a squat. So whatever your squat looks like, you know, is okay. You might not be able to get into a deep squat, but you know, if you're squatting up there, that's fine. All we're going to do is get into a squat, and then we're going to flex our spine, bring the head down, just have your arms reaching forwards. Just trying to get a nice stretch through the back of the spine. And then you're going to shift your weight to the balls of your feet. If you need to use the ground to balance, that's totally fine. If you can do it without, that's great. Up onto the balls of your feet, bring your arms out to the side. Just think about opening up the chest, get a nice stretch through the pecs, and then you're going to come back. Sit back into the heels, arms reach forward into flexion. Take a nice deep breath into your belly when you're in this position, it will feel amazing. And then we're going to shift back into the balls of the feet, open the chest, arms out to the side. And then shifting back into the heels, nice deep breath into the belly.